Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of The Cheap Seats, which is your Premier League podcast, a Premier League show. We talk all things Premier League and maybe sometimes the Champions League or mostly Chelsea because they seemingly buying everybody in this market. But we're not here to talk about that today. It's transfer deadline day. Got many things happening. Manchester United, I don't know if they're going to sign anybody. Spurs are signing people we don't know. But that's Spurs. And then Chelsea have somehow spent the entire transfer budget for the world for the next 3 years in one window. But that's what it is. And then obviously Arsenal keep on getting scraps from other teams' scrap heaps, like J5, Ballon d'Or nominee 2021, also Euro champion, J5, Jorginho, or one of the best penalty takers.
That is such an Arsenal thing to do, to celebrate another cup that he's won.
I'm trying to talk myself into him. I'm going to be like, what does Mikel see?
Trying to convince himself that it's not the Italian Harry Winks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But that's essentially what our show is. Remember, our show is sponsored by Classic Shirts ZA, so please do go there and check them out. Go to their website, classicshirts.co.za, and the Twitter handle is Classic Shirts ZA, but their Instagram handle is Classic Shirt ZA. The shirt of the week, Cyrus, you'll remember this. This is a really, really lovely kit.
Also remember it. It's from the year his club was founded.
Such a good shirt. Such a good shirt. So many memories. Oh, in fact, I remember that Founders Day. I don't know if I think he did. That might have been the Lionel Messi retired Asia del Horno kit.
Yeah.
It was a tough time. It was a tough time to be Asia del Horno. And I really liked the guy. But then you realized, what the crazy thing is? You didn't know Messi was Messi. You just saw some kid ripping this guy to shreds. And everyone was like, yep, that's it. Career over. If only we'd known that he'd been getting beaten by one of the best players the world has ever seen. But great kit.
I'm sure at that time Del Horno was like, but guys, this guy is just not. He's not the same.
He had no answers. He had no answers. He was looking around at everybody like, look, it's not me.
But remember, you can go get it at Classic Shirts at Classic Shirts using the discount code CheapSeats99. You'll get 99 Rand off. So today, guys, we're talking about the transfer window, the January transfer window. We're going to talk about who Wahid would have loved to have signed over the window. I hear Anthony Elanga is being courted by Barcelona or something weird like that. But let's go around the room. How are we feeling about our teams? How are we feeling about the signings they made? Dean, I'm going to start with you. Danjuma, I think this was the player you guys got. Who did you guys get? And are you happy?
Yeah, simply put, it's not enough from Spurs. I mean, obviously,
Danjuma did it well against United a few times,
in the Europa League semi-final.
Stage of the Champions League, he's done well against us a couple of times.
So there is a player in Danjuma, so I'm not that worried because he's back up to Son, which Son needs a bit of a rude awakening because his form has dropped off a cliff. So getting cover for Danjuma is cover for Son in Danjuma is not a bad thing. I mean, he was at Bournemouth, which doesn't shout quality, but he did have a good spell at Villarreal, and getting him on a loan with not an obligation to buy, but just an option to buy at the end of the season was kind of good business. And it was more sort of backup. We wanted to go for Zaniolo, but apparently Roma were demanding like an upfront fee of 30 million or something like that. So quick deal. Quite happy that we stole it from sort of under the noses of Everton, although I don't know many Everton fans, so I can't rub it in their faces. But yeah, I think the big one is the Pedro Porro deal.
Rub it in their faces.
Yeah, Pedro Porro deal is one of the ones that most Spurs fans are probably most excited about. It's very difficult in Conte's system, which requires quality wingbacks, to have the two worst wingbacks in the league. in providing quality in Emerson Royale and Doherty on the right and Sessegnon on the left. So Porro on the right. Yeah, well, that's how bad it is. Porro looks like he could be a good signing. There's obviously he's coming from the Portuguese league, but he's young, he's quick, he's exciting, he's good on the ball from what I've seen. Obviously, just YouTube compilation, so he looks magnificent. But yeah, I'm excited. He is from City's Academy, and I'm happy they had a buyback clause, which I thought after the deal potentially fell through, they were gonna sort of.
I also thought so because the Cancelo going short, and I thought they might get involved.
I was like, oh, yeah, we go. But I mean, it's a good deal. But the big sort of lacking signing is we still don't have quality centre backs, and that's the person that we needed the most at Spurs. So don't have that. It's still going to be a struggle. We're still going to play with Ben Davies and Eric Dyer. But hopefully next window we say will be fun.
It's just getting the ball.
Romero's good, but that's it. The rest of them must go home. So enough for now.
Okay.
I don't think it's enough for top 4. But
exactly, I was going to say Longley, and you can see clearly Spurs, they haven't been able to work the magic on some of the guys who I suppose maybe that's why Barca let him go. It was like, no, he's no longer Longley.
No, he's. I mean, I think he's better than Ben Davies on the ball, but that's a very small sort of measuring stick. So I think 2 quality centre backs is what we need in summer, and then an attacking midfield or a creative midfield.
And new coach.
Well, Harry Maguire, who Inter asked about Harry Maguire apparently.
When you say that?
Everton asked for Harry.
Honestly, watch Harry Maguire to Spurs in the summer transfer window. I don't think that is a transfer out of the realms of possibility.
I don't know why you keep trying to give me.
I agree with Wahid. Well,
Anthony
it's
Martial,
Spurs history. It's
Spurs
history.
I also reckon a Maguire in a back 3 in the center of the centre backs in a Spurs system won't be the worst player in the world. Like I reckon he'll do all right there.
Yeah.
That's like
Spurs
England torture.
United, so no.
That's like England torture 2.0.
Yeah, I think it would work. I agree with Wahid. I think it would work.
Okay.
But,
okay, let's move on to, because we've seen that Dean is trying to deny us all the fact that there are players in that Spurs backline. We just haven't found them yet. Wahid, your football club has been largely quiet. I know previous seasons you've been very angry at the lack of inaction of Manchester United. Are you still happy about the inaction, or are you a little bit calmed now?
I'm a bit calm, Paul. Would I have liked to see us go and get a top-class centre forward? Yes. Do I understand why the club haven't gone and done that? Yes, as well. We're probably going to be sold in the next couple of months to new owners, and our owners have historically not wanted to spend money in January. They've not necessarily wanted to spend money at the best of times, but I understand why you wouldn't want to go chase Victor Osimhen now in January and pay over the odds for it. The team look all right. Could they do with a proper centre forward? 100%. Do I think Wout Weghorst is good? No, I don't think he's very good. But he'll fill a gap until we get to the summer. Do I think we'll get to the summer having made top 4 without that centre forward? I'm not sure. I think it's touch and go, and I think that United are in a really good run of games until the Arsenal game. We did well against City as well, but with the sheer amount of games coming up, I don't want to downplay how well Arsenal played at all, but you could see how tired United were in that second half. Like they just completely ran out of steam, and you fear how many times that's going to happen towards the back end of the season if we're still playing in the FA Cup, if we're still playing in the Europa League. So the Carabao Cup will only have 2 more games, but there is a chance that we just completely run out of steam in that chase for top 4, which means we'll be relying on something like the Europa League, which I'm not sure we'll get. I'm not sure we're going to get that far in the Europa League. It's a toss for coin against Barcelona, to be perfectly honest, at the moment. So do I think we needed something? Yes. Do I understand why we haven't done anything? Yes, as well.
Okay.
More worrying than the centre forward is the news today that Christian Eriksen is out because he's been one of the ones completely transformed that midfield. And I think that what you're going to see is you're going to see Fred coming into his spot. And I do know that Fred and Casemiro historically have played really well as a pairing for Brazil, but I still think we now are going to be short of a body in the squad. Who's going to fill that? It's going to be a player like Zidane Iqbal or Charlie Savage or Kobe Mainu, or are we going to consider taking Hannibal back from loan? That's going to be the type of player who now covers for Fred, and that's not in a position where you want to be. Or there's also Scotland's third choice centre back, but let's say about him.
Okay, let's go to Cyrus before you have to jump off a little bit. Chelsea, you've done completely the opposite to everybody else. You've chased you're like the guy in the club who just wants to have the hottest girl, and you just throw money.
Not necessarily the hottest girl, just everybody else's girl.
All of the hottest girls. But I think so. I think there's actually a story that people they haven't started speaking about yet, which is I think what is underpinning a lot of the moves that Chelsea have made at the moment. So firstly, Chelsea are doing the let's fix everything we can right now because we've got the facility to do that. Nobody else can really compete at the moment, and those are the other teams that have the money aren't going to spend. So like for instance, a Man City, United, and Liverpool are going to change ownership very, very quickly, right? They're going to have some financial backing behind them, let's say by next season, which then means that you're going to end up in a bidding war for some of the best players in Europe and in the world with United and with Liverpool. And it'll then become a really tough fight to get some of these players when that bidding war starts. So a Jude Bellingham falls directly into that. I think that's what Chelsea are trying to avoid, and they're trying to get all of their business done now. Now, that's why you'll see like somebody like Christopher Nkunku is being signed, and it will only come in the summer, in the European summer. And a few others, I think. Enzo Fernandez is also one of those where if we don't get into trying to get him now, it will then become a thing later as well. And I think they're trying their damnedest to try and refresh everything and say, okay, fine, we've done all our business, and the business that we'll really need to do for the next 5 years, the next thing will be tweaking. So obviously there'll be players who leave, but they won't be buying tons and tons and tons of players over the next 2, 3, or 4 years. So that's what I think is happening. Do I think that it's ruined football? Far from it. This was said about Chelsea in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, and football carried on. I think the other thing to remember is a lot of these players that are coming to Chelsea might feel as if they've been underscouted, though Chelsea have really had their scouting network working. But they've also understood that if they weren't going to get them now, they'd have to face the exact same things that I spoke about a little earlier later in the summer. And that's where things really get tricky. Because if you're trying to get a Jude Bellingham and a Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United and Man City are all bidding for a guy.
Not us.
You notice I left Spurs. No, because you don't shop. You don't shop
his
there.
brother. We signing his brother.
Exactly.
Yeah. The wrong Bellingham.
Like Mbappe's brother too. But I think that's what you're seeing with Chelsea, and I'm expecting to see a lot more potential loan right before the window ends, because I think that's the quickest way to get players out the door and to also get some money in. So like the Jorginho deal to Arsenal is fantastic business from a Chelsea perspective. What's that, £12 million for a guy who's got 5 months left on his contract? Really fantastic. And as much as you'll see a lot of Chelsea fans saying, oh, I'm so sad Jorginho's gone, they're also pretty resigned to be like, well, it was his time. The fact that it's gone to strengthen Arsenal doesn't make it feel any better. But at the same time, we could also hope that he is Agent Jorginho, and those own
like
goals
Agent
start to rack up.
And Agent
Gallas
and Agent Gallas.
That revolving door from Chelsea through to Arsenal is very well worked. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
We just need Chelsea to then go to Tottenham and ask for Harry Kane and just to shake the table a little bit.
So this is what I think is going to happen in the summer, is that I think when Harry Kane becomes available, you're going to see the likes of United, Chelsea, Newcastle, and potentially Spurs trying to keep him all in a bit of a bidding war. I don't see him going to like a Bayern Munich, potentially Real Madrid if they come in. because they like to have these splashy signings. And that's going to be a really tricky one. And I think that a lot of these guys tend to want to stay in London. And so what if you're a little bit hated because you crossed the city
That's
to go
easy
to the
for you to say
Blue
until we start throwing things at him, because that's exactly
Well,
what will happen
what
if
are
he
you
goes to
gonna
Stamford
do? What
Bridge.
are you
It's going to
I'll
happen
go
if
to
he goes to
London
any
and-
London club.
Are you
So
gonna
even
go
if he
to
goes to
Rock?
Fulham, if he goes to
Fact.
Fulham, would you go and rock
Especially
him?
Fulham. Especially Fulham.
But yeah, I think Harry Kane's going to be a big chip come the summer as well.
Anything before the deadline that you'd like to do, or is it just player
Yeah.
exits?
So for me, it's the Fernandes deal. We have to make sure we know what's happening in midfield, central midfield in particular. Kovacic is still there, but injury plagued. Kante should come back. Ruben Loftus-Cheek might leave, but if he doesn't, he's also another body that can stand in the center of the park and do something, maybe not. And then you also have Conor Gallagher, and he might also leave on loan. But with Jorginho going, it might actually mean that Gallagher sticks around, because it's one less person to battle with. And we might even see somebody like Connie Chukwuemeka start to play. So I think it's going to be important to see which players leave. I think Ziyech is on his way to PSG. That seems to be the stories at the moment. And I'm okay with that. Though Chelsea will obviously need to do a lot more selling in the summer. But then also somebody like Christian Pulisic. He's offered so much and delivered so little. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens late, or it's just like, we're saving that for the summer. But I think the Fernandes deal would be fine for me. I don't know if we're going to do something insane, like also sign Caicedo, because then what? But this is Chelsea Football Club. We love to keep things.
Do you think Enzo Fernandez is any good?
Do I think he's any good? I do. Do I think he's worth the money that's being spent? No. But then again, I don't think any player is worth that money, bar Erling Haaland.
Because
If you guys end up,
I'm just looking back to the World Cup, and he was good, he was okay. He didn't stand out to me as oh my God, look at that player. He didn't stand out to me like Jude Bellingham stood out to me, for example.
Of course.
Are Chelsea going in and signing a player based on a tournament, or have they thoroughly scouted this player? Because he was bought by Benfica not long ago for a very modest sum of money. And I've got a mantra. It's called the Karol Poborski clause.
World Cup.
It's called Karol Poborski. It's called the Marcus Rojo clause. Don't sign players on the back of one good tournament.
I'm with you. I will say this. There was a little guy who used to play in France at a team called Lorient, if I remember correctly, ended up going to Leicester City and then ended up at Chelsea in N'Golo Kante. Sometimes these guys can show you who they are way before anybody else does. And I think that Enzo Fernandez might be one of those players where maybe Chelsea regret the amount of money that they spend on him, but I think he'll be at least worth the squad place that he'll get. And the other thing about him is that his position isn't one of those where you're going to expect him to score goals or to create tons of goals. His real purpose is to help make this midfield engine work. And I think that's really the most important thing. Can he be that guy who just settles things down in the midfield and gives Chelsea some sort of defensive crunch as well? Because that's not Jorginho and it's not Kovacic. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's not Kante.
Look, Enzo wasn't the second best player in that Argentina team, and maybe he was third. But look, fine. Let's see. I don't think he can. I'm not sure, but we'll see. I think for me, it's just
he's never going to justify that money. He's never going to justify the money unless he started banging in 20 goals a season for the next 20 years. We'd be like, wow, who knew he had that in him? But I think the thing is, if he's able to pull this team together like the glue that the Chelsea guys hope he would, and Chelsea go on to win 2 league titles while he's in that midfield, maybe that will be worthwhile. I think the most important signing in this window has been Mudryk. And I think more than anything, he will be the one that unlocks what happens going forward for Chelsea, whereas Enzo Fernandez could even be a Declan Rice. And I think that's what Chelsea have needed for a while. Somebody just run around, cause some havoc in the middle of the park and say, okay, you guys do the rest of your jobs.
Cause some havoc in the middle of the park. You're talking about Scott McTominay.
That's not quite that kind of havoc. And Harry Winks.
Self-inflicted havoc. That's not like havoc on other teams. That's like, I'm not gonna mark. Cyrus, thank you very much, man.
I've got to go.
Sure. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Cool. So Cyrus left before I could tell him about my Arsenal January spending spree, but you guys are going to hear it anyway.
Mudryk is an interesting one because I hadn't heard much of him, and I must be honest, when I heard like Oaks are paying this kind of money for a guy from the Ukrainian league, I was like, this sounds like Alex Teixeira 2.0, and
don't understand how good that kid is.
And when I saw Mudryk play for Chelsea, that's like Hazard-esque. He is a serious talent.
And you see why Mikel
I had to hate him already. I like as soon as I see Arsenal linked to anyone, this internal hatred just starts, and then I just write them off.
And so here's my issue about Arsenal's January transfer window is that we've been beaten out to these big name signings, or we can't close out these big name or big number signings. So, for instance, Mudryk, right? We knew what they wanted. It was unfair. It was wrong. It broke every fiber of whatever moral fiber that you had, but you had to pay, you know? And then on the other end, you had Caicedo, right? Brighton don't want to sell. So how does 5 million increment increases do you think they're going to move Brighton? So that's my only worry. But look, I think Trossard is as what he said Trossard 4 months ago, and I was like, no, I don't want to. But I think maybe he might be
Trossard's not him. He's not.
No,
him.
but what you're looking for right now with the run-in, and obviously now Arsenal's in 2 titles left in the Premier League, in the title race, and obviously Europa, is someone to give rest to the front four, right? So we need a replacement for Saka on the right. I know Trossard's left-footed, but you can then move Martinelli to the right. Emil Smith-Rowe coming back. You no longer have guys who are chilling and playing every single game. Kivior, who's the Polish dude who no one ever knew about, is a left-sided midfield defender. I didn't know that Gabriel Magalhaes has played every single game bar one this season, and that's a problem because if he gets injured, we might be seeing things. So I'm happy. Like this window is a little bit underwhelming because obviously we didn't get who we wanted, but we did strengthen in terms of just squad depth. Because now if Trossard's coming off the bench, that's Premier League quality. He starts for other teams. He doesn't, he obviously sits on the bench for us. And yeah, like Jorginho, look, if Thomas Partey gets injured, that's kind of helpful. That at least if Partey does come off the field, you get a guy, he passes sideways. So I think maybe Mikel Arteta used to love passing sideways and backwards. So maybe that's the situation. But anyway, what's going on with Marcel Sabitzer? Why are you guys lighting up our little chat?
Popping up all over my phone. United are in talks with Marcel Sabitzer.
That is a panic signing. Panic.
No, it's not. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's great.
He's a good player, but that's panic.
That's the type of player you need at Tottenham. The problem.
I would have asked for if we're going to Bayern, I would have asked for Gravenberch, who they took from Ajax, who hasn't played at all for the last 6 months. I would have asked for him on loan, and Erik ten Hag has worked with him before. So that's the type of player I might have asked for from Bayern. He hasn't played at all for 6 months.
Yeah.
As you know.
That's sad. But not
at all. He barely played.
That's why he wasn't at the World Cup. Yeah. But I like Marcel Sabitzer. I think he's good. I think he's a nice little. He's better than McFred.
Yeah,
he's better than McFred, but he's
different to Fred. I think
that's an Eriksen injured. We need someone to cover because I don't trust McFred signing. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, well, who else?
I think he trusts Fred. I'm not sure he trusts McTominay, but the problem is that after Fred is that it's McTominay, and that's where your problems lie. Fred's been like a very steady Eddie for us this season, which has been quite good. Yeah.
Okay. So how would you rate your team's transfer window from 0 to 10? I'm going to start with Dean.
5, I think. As I said, I just don't think we know where we're lacking. We know everyone on this planet knows Conte's game plan, and we just don't have the players to play. And I mean, everyone's meant like up front we are fine. Kane, Son, Kulusevski, Danjuma, Richarlison, we're fine up front. In midfield, we've got Bentancur and Højbjerg. Bentancur's good, Højbjerg touch and go. Basuma's fine, we just signed him. So like in the middle of the park is also okay. We need a proper defense and a new goalkeeper. God, Lord, I can't wait to see Lloris leave. But that's only going to happen in the summer. So goal in terms of central defenders, that's what we needed. The problem is I don't think the guys that we are scouting would be available at the moment. There was a Hincapie guy that we were looking at from Bayer Leverkusen, but very tough, like Bayer Leverkusen are asking for ridiculous money. So we still have not strengthened or improved in areas where we needed to. I'm glad we got a proper
midnight Harry Maguire loan.
I really hope.
I can just feel it already.
Harry Maguire is not going in the January transfer window. He will go. I'm sure that one of Maguire or Lindelof will depart in the summer because they're not good. They're not good enough to be starters at Man United, but they're too good to be never playing. Like they could drop down a couple of rungs to the likes of Spurs and play a lot more games.
The one thing I will say is I think the loan signing that we, or not signing, but us letting Jed Spence go out on loan to Rennes is a good move for him personally, because I do think he's got a good future at Spurs. He's really young, he's really good quality, but he needs minutes and he's not getting it at Spurs. So apparently it turned out in like Atletico Madrid and I can't remember who else, someone in Italy. I think it was Sassuolo, because he wanted guaranteed like game time. So that's why he chose to go to Stade Rennes. So I'm really happy for him. I would have preferred to see Emerson Royale leave instead of Matt Doherty. He's way better in my opinion. But
where does Doherty go to? Where does some fancy team?
Atletico.
Shit.
We've now got Reguilon there on loan and Doherty there on loan. They also signed Trippier from us. They just signed
back as like the assistant king, the assist king this season.
No, I think we'll see. My big thing is if Porro hits the ground running on that right side of Spurs' sort of flank, we've got Kulusevski, Porro, Bentancur, and Romero, which those four on the right-hand side are quality. So majority of our attacks are probably going to come down that right-hand side. If he starts firing the balls into Kane, are going to be good.
The majority of your attacks come down one side. It generally becomes a tactical problem. Ask me, I support Man United. Everything went down the left for 3 years.
I think we're still fine with Perisic and Son on the other side. So the right side with Emerson Royale, I don't ever want to see Emerson Royale.
Old man Perisic. So. How would you rank United's window so far?
It's a very difficult one to give like a solid rating, because all we've done is Weghorst on loan. So like 1 out of 10, he's a 1 out of 10 player. Like he's not a good player. Like we signed a guy from Burnley on loan. Like, what do you want me to say about that? No, it's not a good window. Like United should be and could be doing a lot more, especially when you've got a manager who's obviously doing the right things. You've got to give him the tools to continue doing those right things. And the club haven't given him those right tools. Do I understand why? Maybe, but I would have liked to see a lot more. Obviously, I would have liked to see us go sign players that will propel us to fight for the top four, to fight for third, second, because we have it in us, and we've shown that we are a very good team under Erik ten Hag, and we need better tools, or more tools, I'd say, to go on and punch like the season. What would be?
Would you have taken like a Callum Wilson, for example?
I think that would be dependent on the terms of it. If it was a loan, yes. But if it was a full-time deal, no, because I wouldn't want a deal now to affect any deal that we want to do in the summer. So you don't want a player like Callum Wilson who's going to want lots of game time affecting.
He would immediately improve you.
He immediately improve us, but you need to look 6 months into the future. So you're going to pay 25, 30, 40 million pounds for Callum Wilson. And then in 6 months' time, if you get the type of player that you want coming in the summer, he's going to be sitting on the bench, and that doesn't make sense. So on that type of player on loan might have made sense, but not as a full-time deal. So I do understand why the club have gone the loan route. I just don't think Weghorst is very good.
So who's the type of player that you want in the summer?
Let's say Osimhen.
Osimhen,
Someone
Harry
else,
Kane.
someone other than him. Other than those two.
Well, Harry Kane, I'm actually not that keen on anymore, just based on like price tag and age.
He's going to sign a new contract, so that's fine.
I actually don't. I
That
don't
would be
know
the dumbest thing ever, but actually he needs to stay.
He's going to stay.
That would be the dumbest thing
I
we
don't
ever do. We'd ever
I
do.
don't really know the answer to that question. Like there isn't someone out there who's like catching my attention, being like, United have to break the bank for him. But like, could I see us signing a Tammy Abraham? Maybe. Like I could see him like coming in and filling that role in the squad for a little bit of time, and that might work. Sorry,
Ivan Toney is a great call.
I actually wouldn't mind that type of player, but I don't think that's where the club is going to be shopping. I don't think the club is going to be shopping at Brentford. I think the club's going to be shopping in Europe, and I suspect that what you're going to see is maybe them going at a guy like Ramos. If they can't get the Osimhen, the Kane that they might want, I think that they'll then target a player who's really young and has time to grow in the team, and their hope might be the next Victor Osimhen. So I think that's the type of player we might see come through the door if the established stars are too difficult to pry away from their current clubs. The other one to look out for is Man United's goalkeeping issue, because I don't think that's sorted. In the summer, that will have to be sorted, and I'm not sure David De Gea is going to be the number one next season. We'll have to see whether that's or we go shopping in the market.
No,
personally,
wouldn't have been the best
who I want?
somebody in
I like David Raya. I think he's a really
That's
really
what
good
I'm
goalkeeper.
saying.
And I think
He's coming to Spurs.
I think he would fit right in at Man United.
No, I'm a fan of David Raya.
Goalkeeper.
If you buy him, he moves out of my FPL team. No, but like the guys is like the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, I'd give Arsenal a 5. Nothing too much. It's just we're just chugging along. The contracts are fine. So like that whole Jorginho 1-year contract, that's fine. It's you can like let him go at any time if he decides to become a diva. Trossard's an interesting one. I'm going to be interested to see if he doesn't get more active game time, how his attitude what his attitude becomes, because like Robert De Zerbi, it is
Trossard is the exact type of transfer I wanted us to avoid. Like it's like short-term thinking, because do Arsenal want the types of like the likes of Trossard and Jorginho in 6 months' time?
No.
Are they the type of players? So you're signing those players to help you for quite a lot of money for 6 months, and then that then full. So United have fallen into this hole before, where you now fill a place in your squad. And it's very difficult to then ship those players on to fill the squad with the type of players you might want or need. And that's the exact type of thing I wanted us to avoid this winter. If there was a player who was a long-term target of the club, like we did when it was Bruno Fernandes, yes, push the boat out and sign him if he's available this time of the year. But if it's just someone who's going to help you for 6 months, I'd rather look at the loan market than be looking at a player who, as I've said, will fill a hole in the squad on big wages and difficult to shift.
Yeah, so I think Jorginho might be easier to move on from. I'm not sure about Trossard, but Trossard might just be, they might just give him another look next season on the left-hand side with Martinelli to see if they can fight for that position.
He's definitely Martinelli cover, but I think I agree with like Wahid. When he became available, Spurs said 12 million offer, and when Brighton said no thanks, we were like, okay, cool, we don't need it. And that's why the Danjuma signing I'm more happy with, because it's a loan potential to buy if he does well. He's already scored a goal on his debut, so like I'm happy. But Trossard is if you are fighting for top 4, not if you are leading the league signing.
Well, but
it's a Spurs signing.
Remember, we're leading the league with a bench that has no quality. So Trossard adds to that. The only issue is that will he be happy starting from the bench? Because he's not better than Martinelli.
His attitude concerns are a problem.
His attitude issues are my worry. But look, if he can buy into, because if Arteta can give him some nice Europa some nice Europa League games to kind of tie him down, then yeah, sure, why not? Maybe it might be Barcelona, because they might just do a job on Manchester United there. But look, guys, you're happy that you're not Liverpool. Yeah.
Can we talk about some interesting signings of this January transfer window?
Sure.
Anthony Gordon to Newcastle. Okay,
that's a smart sign.
That is so
smart signing. You laugh at that, but that is a smart signing. Newcastle have done some smart business where they sign players.
That is an incredible signing.
Yeah, when Newcastle, they've had some transfer where people are like, "What the hell are you doing?" Anthony Gordon is the type of player who could go to Tyneside and light it up. And with that rabid fan base that they have, they will love a winger like him. He might just thrive there. I reckon he could be like £100 million player in a couple of seasons if everything clicks under Eddie Howe.
No, but I think he could also be one of the foundational pieces for this Newcastle, Manchester City-esque type of rebuild. I just thought that Everton might want a lot more money, but I think that guy's trying to sell. But then if you're trying to sell,
wants art so hard.
It's such a steal to the point where I'm asking myself, why couldn't anybody else in the top four put up their hand and say, we'll take him, because he's really good.
Him? In the top four, who needs him at that price point?
I need someone to sit behind Saka, but he's not going to be that's the problem with Anthony Gordon. He's not going to be the fulcrum of Arsenal. He's going to be he's going to always be just the guy in and around that squad. But for 40 million,
the team might be built around him. But look at the players that signed, like Bruno Guimaraes, Anthony Gordon. Those are like puzzle pieces for long-term thinking. And when you look at Newcastle, money makes no difference there. In 2 or 3 years, someone could offer them 200 million or 300 million for Bruno Guimaraes or Anthony Gordon, and they just won't care. Is not money makes no difference to them. So those are long-term things they're going to build on now.
So here's one signing that I need to ask you guys if he's going to flop or not. Cody Gakpo, what have you thought of him? Liverpool just don't look the same.
I don't want to call it after 4 games. Again, you compared to Man United last year. You compared it to Jadon Sancho coming into Man United. When you're coming into a mess, it's very hard to shine. And he's come into a big mess at Liverpool. So you don't want to judge him on his last 4 or 5 games. You want to see him play when Liverpool are purring in a Klopp system with a good midfield behind him, rather than in a midfield. Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. So
the one thing that carry on, Paul. The one thing that I was going to say that could be interesting is I saw Forest were looking at Keylor Navas in goal, and you're kind of thinking you've already got Dean Henderson there. Why would you be looking at Navas? But they are just trying to sign anyone that looks like they even interested in playing football. So again, Forest are they're trying to stay out, but they're just throwing money at stupid players. And I'm like, who are you actually?
No.
What is your plan? What are you trying to do?
They're in a place where they now have to let go of some of the guys they signed in June because they've already got so many players. But I wouldn't mind Keylor Navas. I think he's a better goalkeeper than Dean Henderson. He's got European experience. I think he's much better. And yeah, so I don't know what's going on, but they're trying to throw everything and try and make it stick. The team that signed quite a lot this winter is Wolves. They have gone and shopped for everybody and everyone. Listen to this. Obviously, they got Mateus Cunha in. They bought in Mario Lemina, Pablo Sarabia, Craig Dawson, Daniel Bentley, Kayana Hoover, who the last time, I think he was at Liverpool the last time I saw him.
Man United looked at Mateus Cunha in the summer and were quoted £90 million. Just to put United tax into perspective, we were quoted £90 million for him.
£90 million. That's ridiculous.
Should have paid it.
Yeah. So So yeah, like Wolves are really trying to step up. I like their signings quite a lot. And yeah, just outside of that Anthony Gordon Newcastle one, I think those are the only ones that actually like stand out.
For me, Weston
obviously the
McKennie
big
to
news-
Leeds. Weston McKennie to
How
Leeds.
did they get him? Like how?
I mean, Leeds are trying to build the US men's national team just in Leeds at the moment. So like they don't even need to go for like there's no such thing as international break for Leeds.
So I would have gone for Weston McKennie. I would have gone for Weston McKennie instead of Jorginho. I'd have
Spurs had a long interest in Weston McKennie. Long-term interest.
But yeah, look, I think but that's the thing about the
That's
Premier
another
League
one
now.
to look out for in the summer is the fire sale at Juventus, because I don't think there'll be players sticking around there. So Dusan Vlahovic could be
Is he
an
one
option.
on your list? Vlahovic, whatever.
He
No,
is. He's a really good player. Arsenal looked at him
He's
before going for Gabriel Jesus. So if there is a fire sale at Juventus, that could be another one for Man United to be exploiting with the striker situation over there. So again, like there'll be so much to play out over the next couple of months that you're not sure who that target will be come the summer.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this window. It feels very tentative. It's only for emergency needs, and to a certain extent, that's essentially what it is. It's if you look, Chelsea are looking to try and avoid doing anything in the summer, but they probably will still end up doing that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one goes, because I think the big one for tonight, obviously we're going to post it. We're going live tonight, is the Enzo one. Can they get Enzo Fernandez over the line? Brighton did not want to let go of Moyes Caicedo, but they're going to have an issue in the summer. They're also going to have an issue with Kaoru Mitoma, who scored one of the most incredible goals against Liverpool over the weekend.
How good is that guy? How good is Mitoma?
He is so good. Yeah, look, Wahid, if you're looking for someone to replace Anthony, Kaoru Mitoma is the perfect guy. I know on that right
they paid for him.
And Anthony is frustrating, but I think that he's one of those players who's going to be there long term. I think the coach really trusts him, and I do think that he does a shift. He does a lot of the hard work that the coach expects on that right hand side, which maybe sometimes goes a little bit unnoticed. And I know I do find it frustrating at the best of times, and I have complained bitterly about Anthony, but I don't think that he's going to be replaced when you consider that we spent £85 million on him a couple of months ago. There's also Jadon Sancho to come back into the team, and he can cover the right wing, the left wing. He can probably play centrally as number 10 as well. So once Jadon Sancho comes in, I suspect that we are actually stocked in those wide areas for now. We've also got Garnacho, who is phenomenal, and Pellistri, who can cover. The one to watch is Anthony Elanga, because I'm not convinced by him, but apparently there's massive interest in Europe for the kid's signature on loan. So maybe I'm missing something. If there's such big interest in the kid, there must be a player there that I'm not seeing. I just think he runs fast, and that's about it.
There must be a player there. If there ever was a Wahidism, that's the one. There must be a player in this.
There's a player there.
Yeah, so guys, I think that's where we're going to end it. It's a January transfer deadline special. I hope your teams do something magical at midnight. Outside of that, we'll see you guys over the weekend. Spurs, please, just hold them back. Hold Manchester City back. That's all
you know how difficult this game is for me? If I win, I win. But if I lose, then it helps me. Arsenal not win the league. I hate this game. I honestly hate this game.
Okay, look.
What would you prefer?
And die.
Would you take losing and coming like 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th in order to not see Arsenal win the league? Okay, Dean, here's it. If you come 4th, Arsenal win the league. But if you come 6th, Arsenal don't win the league. What are you taking?
I come 6th.
Yep. Okay. There's
I
your
had the
answer.
same
So they're
reaction
going to
when it
roll
was
over and die.
When it was Liverpool, I
They're
had the
gonna
same
roll.
reaction. I'll come 10th to not see Liverpool win the league.
You guys are just honestly okay. That's enough of that little haterade there. But guys, yeah, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the football. We're back, and I think it's about like 11 days until Arsenal play Man City again. So a little bit scary, but we'll be back next week talking all about that. Outside of that, goodbye, good night, and le sale, caca.